Do you ever feel like if you stopped, everything that you've built up to this point would collapse? Or like if you slowed down, that would mean you'd lose your income, you'd lose your edge, or you'd lose your momentum. My friend, what if the grind is actually the very thing that is causing you to lose yourself? Before we get into it, my name is Oliver Manalesa. I've been a guide for high achievers for over 13 years, helping them end the war within and unlock peaceful prosperity in their lives and businesses. If this already feels too real for you and you feel like you'd like someone to hold a sacred space so that you can confront the truth, untangle some of the mess inside, and reconnect with yourself and what matters, I would love to have a conversation with you. Feel free to use the link below to book a guidance session with me. My friend, we've been lied, and I feel like it is such a thing that we are all trapped in, this idea of needing to do more in order to be more. That if we slow down, then that's the same thing as laziness. Where if you are busy, if you're constantly taking action and you're in this frenetic pace of life, then you are worthy. Then you are proving your value. But so many high achievers that I've been speaking with over the years are quietly drowning in this level of overfunctioning. Now, don't get me wrong. I truly believe that there are moments, there are seasons in life that require us to sprint, to go all out at the cost of nearly everything else. But that is not a good long-term strategy. For the short term, it'll help you get to the next milestone that you need. But over the long run, it can cause so much destruction and so much misery. Because underneath that, really, it's this form of scarcity mindset that's all disguised in productivity. I was working with this client for a number of years, and when we first started working together, he'd established himself in his family business. His home and his business were sharing the same property, and he'd said yes to every single thing over the years, made promises that he didn't know he could keep, which is a part of growth. When you find opportunities, you find customers who want your gifts, your services, your product, you got to reach for the sky. You got to grow into those promises. And he did. And it created an incredible level of success for himself, for his family. And he got to a level of leadership and a level of responsibility that it is very difficult to notice how the little symptoms are so silent of burnout, of self-betrayal. And like I said earlier, I think we can be in a season of yes in different periods of our life, our career, but it's not a good long-term strategy. But the problem is when we start winning, when we start doing so well, it starts to become our default. That even when the seasons have changed, even when it is inappropriate to be behaving in that way, we know what worked. We know what makes us win. We know what makes us feel good, like we're creating momentum. So we just stick to that over functioning, overproducing, toxic productivity type of mentality. And when these little forms of restlessness or resentment start to bubble up, because we're so busy, we feel like we can tuck it away. And that's what my client did. He turned his attention on his work. He put his head down. He said yes to everything. He took every single call. And he kept tucking away that resentment into a tiny little corner, but it festered. And it festered into some bitterness, impatience. And it kept being this little thing that he thought he can compartmentalize, that he can hide, that he can separate. Little did he know that it was actually leaking all over the place. That when he went home to his wife, to his kids, when family members or friends saw him, it was literally as if, these are the words that he used, it was as if there was like an FU printed on his forehead, even though he thought he was masking it and keeping it from all the people around him. And I think that's admirable, that we don't want some of our internal negativity to spread to other people. We don't want to be the person that drags other people down. So we try to mask it. We try to impersonate this stronger, more charismatic version of ourselves. But when we first started working together, one of the things that I quickly identified was this war within. I truly believe that when we have internalized conflict, when we have friction that's happening inside of us, that it can really get in the way of the power and potential of our gifts that already reside within us. So I invited him to just slow down with me. Let's use our time together as a sacred pause. To be able to have you look at yourself and your situation with more clarity. When your nervous system, you're revving so high, we got to drop it down a couple of notches. And when that happened, he was able to start seeing the landscape of his emotions, of his mindset, of his spirituality. And he realized that so much of his value, his boundaries, the things that mattered, were all getting stomped on by this overfunctioning, toxic productivity, scarcity mindset that worked before in a past life, but in his current iteration, it was betraying every single thing that actually mattered to him. And so very quickly he was able to start seeing, I need to create these boundaries. I need to have a separate phone. I need to have time off. I need to physically move my business to a different place. I need to physically move my home to a different place. I need to have time for myself each morning to clear the emotional fog. I need to spend more time and energy prioritizing myself and realize that I am my main asset. What good will I be for my wife, my kids, my employees, my clients, my business if I'm so diminished and compromised like this? And it's amazing what happens when that war within turns into internal peace. The rage softened. The resentment melted away. And the bandwidth, it started to come back. And to this day, what's really inspiring, I'm super grateful that I got to walk with him on his path, because the last time I checked in on him, he was saying, I'm living the dream life because of the work that we did together, working 20 hours a week, doing high value work. And he's leading from a place of clarity instead of chaos. I invite you to take a second and reflect on this story and see if there's parts of yourself and what you're going through in that story, in that real life experience. Is there a part of you that feels like slowing down might be a form of giving up? That the adrenaline is part of what's going to create the result, as opposed to coming from a place of alignment? Do you feel like that just constantly doing and doing and doing is going to help you get there, when actually what you really need is to tap into a new level of being? And if this message so far resonates with you, maybe it's time for you to just check in with yourself. Maybe we do that right now since we're spending this time together, and ask yourself, can I take a pause from my work for a few hours, for a day this week, without all the guilt? Can I tap into a level of joy in parts of my life outside of my work, so that maybe that energy will flow into my business? Am I giving myself permission to take rest, take time for play, so that when I am on, I'm fully energized and nourished in other aspects of my life, other aspects of my heart and my soul? And I think this might be even a bigger question is, do I have a sense of self without productivity? Like, can I tap into an identity for myself without workaholism? And if these are challenging questions for you to sit with, I totally get it. And it's totally fair. I think I think we are so stuck and hung up on having to perform all the time, and it might be getting in the way of our peace. And we get so stuck in this busyness because it's an easier way to not have to look at the reality within. In a way, we're kind of protecting ourselves from ourselves, because I get it's scary to acknowledge that I am at war with myself. There are big emotions and struggles and misalignments inside of myself that if I looked at it, what kind of can of worms am I going to open up? It's like when you feel like you need to organize your closet and your clothes and your drawers, and you're inspired one day and you just rip everything out and you just have this mess in your bedroom and you're like, oh my God, what did I just, oh my God, what did I just do? I get it. But look, if this keeps going, there's a real danger in that self-neglect morphing into resentment, morphing into a rage that can leak out to the people that you're doing it all for the people that you love. This path, it leads to a level of bitterness and burnout that I know that if you're tuning into this, you're just not that kind of person. When my client slowed down, it's not that he lost his success. He actually found a sustainable rhythm, a sacred rhythm to make progress towards the goals and the ambitions for himself and his family. The peace that he instilled in himself, it became the rock that he rebuilt his life on. So my friend, if you're afraid of slowing down, but you know that you need that pause to reconnect with yourself, then you're the exact person that I would love the opportunity to serve as a guide. Feel free to use the link below to book a guidance session with me, and let's design a level of stillness for your soul that a deep part of you has been starving for, and help unlock a whole other level of peaceful prosperity for you, your business, and your family.